That's right, everybody. Welcome in. You seen the drafts. Now you're getting ready to see the games. Mythic and Flow State in the PCC Summer Series Grand Finals. Philly, two teams are here, but only one team can stand at the end of the day. We got potentially three matches, but only one can be a victor.
I'm interested to see how Mythic holds up here, right? They have been through the gauntlet, fighting their way through the lower bracket. Now they are facing the champion sitting on top of the mountain saying, "Come at me, bro." Do they have enough in the tank to take down F8, who seem to have a pretty easy run throughout our summer series, friend? We're putting on the stinger. We're heading into Sanctuary.
Gotta see how much gas is left. It's no small feat to make it all the way to the grand finals through the winner's bracket. Perhaps an even more challenging feat to make it through the loser's bracket. Mythic has certainly risen to the occasion. They've got one more mount in front of them. Talk to me a little bit about what you're expecting to see here, Philly. I mean, obviously, they've got a mountain to climb here. Flow State has been on top of their game. They've been performing quite surprisingly well in relation to all the other teams. We went into this series thinking Flow State might be a middle of the pack team, but they've really shown up here.
Absolutely dominating throughout this tournament. I mean, they have some of the biggest names in the whole scene, but BKB, their offlaner, is someone who's kind of stormed onto the scene within the last few months. Like he's you if you go back to the history of PCCs prior, you will not see this name here, but he has really made a statement, and we're seeing him on the Ure in this game. The first time we're seeing this character really at the highest levels, and I love this assassin v assassin matchup. BKB has been the player that's brought her to the forefront and really said, hey, this character's nasty, you have to pick her or we're going to crush you. So, folks, keep your eyes out on this off lane throughout the entirety of this match.
It's really interesting how BKB has kind of come back in and kind of changed things up and forced all these teams to kind of play around his style, right? Because you're right. You look back at a few PCCs and you're not going to see BKB there. You go back a little bit further and you'll see his name pop up once or twice. He's in the area, but he hasn't been the mainstay. Now with these new champs coming out, this new style he's developing in this offlane, he's become a mainstay. And it seems like they've kind of found an answer to this Countess who's been so prolific throughout this offlane. We've seen her time and time again throughout different matches in this series. What makes this Yurei work so well into this Countess?
It's the mobility. Both of these characters are the assassin type. They want to duck in, duck out, poke damage, run away, say like, nah, 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 you can't hit me, but they're doing damage on the same side. And Yurei, I think, that does that a little bit better than the Countess can. She has a greater range of engagement because of her passive ability, can throw out those kunais after every subsequent auto
Mhm.
attack, right? Just like that, right? She can engage from a little bit farther away, where Lauber has to wait for the Eventide to then come online, which means, okay, he has to make a decision. Do I stack ability points into Eventide to keep up my poke, or do I go for Blade Siphon, keep up my healing? Do I go for the Shadow Slip so I can engage, pop in, pop out, go for assassinations? So he has to make some of those decisions in terms of where he's allocating his resource as he levels up here. But we're seeing the Mercy on the Aurora. That is his tried and true. He's going for the Glacial Charge.
Got the Glacial Charge. Doesn't quite cut off the retreat path. Satoshi and Cure make their way back in. Lots of damage though when the Purge comes out. Dusk secures the kill onto for Maguli. Not going to see anything from Simba there. Made the rotation over. Not going to find that kill though. Just going to make the rotation back. There's one thing the Flow State's been very proficient in, right? Mercy is super active throughout all of their games, finding great ways to find opportunities in these side lanes. And with how strong Maguli has looked throughout their series so far, I mean, I'd expect a lot of attention paid over to that duo side.
Absolutely, and it's okay. How does the Terra kind of keep up? Both of these junglers kind of have similar clear. Aurora's a little bit faster because of her passive ability, right? Get the little frost ring around you. You can start taking those creeps out a little bit quicker.
Mhm.
Where the Terra, you have to manage your Hersir stacks, right? You got to make sure you can use your Relentless Assault to clear, get that extra true damage onto the creeps. Use Shield Bash to heal up. Make sure you're not taking too much damage from those minions in the jungle. So it's a little bit more tricky to play a Terra in the jungle. It's not as simple as people may
Yeah.
assume. And then you have to hit a skill shot, right? You have to hit the axe and root somebody in place. Otherwise, your gank is basically a failure because the charge is just too slow. So you have to have good setup in the lanes that you want to gank. Right now, you can see a ton of pressure being put on in that off lane. It's BKB winning that engagement. Like we talked about, friend, I want to talk just a little bit about how these teams want to operate. F8 is all about control. They want to just get everybody close together with the Soulstorm, with the Seismic Assault from Simba, with the Cryosism. They get everybody together and take them down in that way. Mythic, they're trying to do something similar, right, with the Black Hole, but that's really their only engagement. From there, it's kind of like, okay, can we win our individual one-on-ones and kind of roll into an
Mhm.
objective from there? But it's really difficult because F8, once we start playing in the more team fight in the mid game, it's going to be hard to dislodge them.
It certainly feels like this countess is going to play a big role for Mythic in these fights, right? Can you find a pick with the countess to get numbers in your favor so that you can then start using that black hole, start charging in with your Terra, and find the advantage in those fights that way? Gonna be tough. Keep in mind, on that last gank Mercy did, Tosi did expend that blink, so this Fangtooth gonna be a little bit tough to contest. But Mythic are still here. Not going to be able to steal it away. Blink comes out from Peak, has to jump over. Abby goes in with the black hole, finds Peak, brings him back down. Now looking forward, not going to find too many more opportunities. One for the Fangtooth, puts Mythic 1-1 on the board.
And F8, they'll take that every day of the week. Peak is their shot caller. He's the one saying, "Hey, we're gonna make these rotations. He's gonna keep everybody at a level head when things get a little bit testy in the comms." And so he's okay with going down. He's always the first to say, leave me, just get out, right? Because he's the least important person in terms of like the net worth and economy, so to speak, right? He
Yeah,
did miss the glacial charge. It was a good
right.
execution from F8 to try to sneak out the back. He just missed the train there, got himself caught out there, unfortunately. But it was a good engage, and they used the black hole, which is the only ultimate they had at that point, Spooky, and they got something for it. So a good rotation there from them. You talked about the impact of this Countess. I've seen in scrims this matchup before. BKB, what his job will be in these team fights is just to keep the Countess away. You'll be seeing them kind of attacking each other one on the outskirts of the fight. If one of them wins, that is going to be the release valve, and that assassin will be able to come through and just kind of kill everybody from there if they're not super low after their skirmish. So these two are going to be deathly important to unlocking the team fight further down the line.
Such an interesting dynamic that we don't typically see from the offlane, right? Most of the time, you're seeing the bruisers in here, the tanks,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of walking into fights saying, hey, we're creating space this way. It's such a different dynamic to have that kill potential, that burst potential come through from this side of the map. With that does mean there's a little bit less survivability, right? You're more relying on your mobility, your movement to keep you alive in ganks, in fights. With that said, are you expecting maybe some attention paid towards this right side from these junglers to try to get at least one of these offlaners behind to make those engagements a little bit easier?
It's tough because both of these assassins are very mobile. It's hard to lock them down with the Hoarfrost or Glacial Charge. You can kind of just shadow slip over it, right, if you're Countess perspective. Or you can use your dash from the side of the array, kind of move away from those things. So it's really difficult to lock them down. That's why you can see Mercy kind of playing a more vertical jungle style where he's paying a lot of attention to this duo lane. Because of the Decker there, he knows he has the kill potential and the setup to get something done. My friend, while we were going through some of that analysis of the off lane, a very important piece to both of these team structures, the mini prime went down there. I believe it went on to Simba.
Simba does get to pick that one up, a little bit more pressure in that mid lane now, bringing some attention over to this left side. Grady makes rotation, doesn't quite find the axe.
Mm.
Gonna have to instead dash away. That's a rotation that finds Grady nothing. Same time, Mercy made the rotation first. No kills go over either way. But I gotta imagine that Toasty, kind of a big target. And if you look at the health bars, you can see a lot of the attention in these rotations is put towards getting this healer off the board. Simba now also being taken off the board. That's gonna be Appy picking up a kill with the help of Lobber. Makes rotation off that off lane.
And that's what you have to do. Off cooldown, use the black hole, and take down Simba because Bellica, very
Oh,
strong character, but does not have a lot of mobility. Mercy, though, dives in for a 2v1.
he goes on in. I'm not sure if he was expecting to find as much company there as he found. Does Glacial Charge on back out? The Peak has made the rotation over as well. Keep your eyes on that right side as well. BKB in the jungle. Not a whole lot of kill opportunity under this tower just yet, but he is still fishing.
Yeah, he does have the Soulstorm online, my friend, which is basically a budget black hole. It does more damage and has a greater gravitational pull than the actual Cosmic Wizard. So that is another reason why this
It's messed
character
up.
is oh so strong. And you saw that she was able to push her lane in and be able to then make that rotation. But now she's getting caught out in the jungle. This is a 1v1.
Caught out. Lobber is available to come rotate in, but Grady doesn't want to take this fight. Damage output from BKB a little too high right now. Instead, gives up that camp. It's going to be golden XP taken away from the jungler. I can't imagine that feels good for this Terra, who, as you mentioned, is a little bit tougher to jungle with, right? You don't want to be losing camps out with how slower her clear is compared to this Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
Now Fangtooth on the board again. You can see Grady's in the area, but do they have potential to contest? I don't think so.
Yeah, where look, they don't have the black hole because they used it in the middle, and they don't have feast either. That's a good lockdown ability. Both are going to be off the board, so they're really going to look for this Zinx to kind of set it up. There's the classic Mercy glacial charge there to split off the Fangtooth, but I think maybe a little too premature,
Grady's
man.
here.
And no, he does secure it.
Gets it secured now. Terra is in there by themselves. Kira dropping the inner fire, puts Simba down. Nice couple kills go the way of the ADC. Lobber picks one up as well. Nice exchange in the Fang Pit. So far, these fights have been Mythic picking up kills for Flow State, going in for those objectives, but it doesn't lead to Mythic getting anything on the map itself. How weighted is this in favor of either team?
That's a really good question. I mean, because the F8 is getting plates across the board as well, and I would love to
Yeah.
see the tab screen just to see where the gold is actually at, because yes, they've gotten the kills, but objectives gives you golden experience as well, so they're probably a little bit even, because it is only a 3 kill increase for Mythic side, so they're finding those exit frags
Mhm.
on top of these objectives. There's the Soulstorm, not going to find anything under the tower. Lauber gets away by a sliver, but to your point, my friend, I think the economic advantage is still very close between these squads because the kills can net them some gold, but I might favor F8 just a little bit more because of the objective gold and the plates.
We're now looking towards a third Fangtooth for Flow State. Going to be a few minutes off from looking at that, but the way things have been going so far, this dual lane has been fairly quiet. Yeah, Maguli just dropped, but he's a guy who's more than comfortable playing the long game, scaling up and saying, my big moments are going to come later in this game. I'm waiting to the team fights before I start popping off. And if there's ever a time for a team fight, you know it's around that third Fangtooth. That's the one where people stop kind of just rushing the objective and start positioning a little bit more, looking for where the enemy team is going to come in at. And I expect that's where we're going to see these offlaners start to make their big rotations as well.
Absolutely. When we do set up for some of those big fights, is we do see a possible rotation from the mid laners kind of camping out this offlane here. But what you'll see, folks, is what I call a 1-3-1. So they're going to have Simba on one, then they're going to have their carry, their support, and their jungler in the middle, and then they're going to have their offlaner on the outside, because the offlaner is going to guard one flank, the mid laner with the seismic assault is going to guard the other choke point. Then you have your priority members, the jungler that can get the hunt off, and your carry that's doing the damage to then attack the objective. And then Peak will be there just to provide a little bit of peel, right? If anyone does break the line of defense on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
Peak will be able to put in a fence, a stun ball, whatever it is. So it's going to be very difficult for Mythic to decide what to do. Do they bum rush which side, the assassin or the mage?
Ow!
It's going to be a really tough decision. You can see Simba putting in a ton of damage already.
Maguli looking for a little bit more. Pops the Neural Regenesis from Toasty. Now looking to try to finish up this kill. He's got the Vanquisher online. Should be a nice, easy pickup. But the inner fire comes through as well. Maguli dashes in. Stun connects onto Kira. And the Purge gets the damage through. Maguli with a double kill.
Oh my goodness, the dash reset saving him there, and then Peak has been hitting Stasis Bomb after Stasis Bomb, just crushing kids on this Decker. That's why, my friend, we always say ban the Decker, just too much control. Mercy, diving in a little bit deep, we know how aggressive they can be, but we'll be able to get out of this one. My goodness, though, what a double kill.
Nice and easy for Mercy to get away from that one. And that's exactly what we're kind of talking about there. Maguli bides his time until he finds a big play. And let's give credit where it's due. He absolutely clutches up there by landing that stasis bomb and shutting down that inner fire. But that's a lot of gold that now goes into this Kira's pockets, shores up some of that kill differential we were looking at there. And if we were saying things are in favor of Flow State before, that certainly bolsters the fighting capabilities of this team. We've been seeing a lot of action coming out from Kira on this Sparrow so far. But I have to wonder how long can that continue, especially once we get into these team fights. A low mobility carry like that, with all the pressure Tosi's been under, I don't know if that neural regenesis is going to be available.
Yeah, the peel is what it is. When you have a Sparrow, you have to do a 4 protect 1 style, basically, because you're going to have to make sure the Sparrow can deadlift your team, basically. So, yeah, you got the Terror that can kind of stand in front. She can play front to back, right? Charge in, then come back, use a Highland Hurl, root somebody that might be attacking your carry, whatever. But it's the Zinx. The Zinx is a little bit lackluster here because, yeah, you have the Ricochet as your stun, but then that's about it. You can pump the heals, but you have to build for that, and you have to do a lot of mana. Right now, only has the Marshal, so she's once again really just trying to facilitate Cure on the Sparrow to just do the damage, right? She's not building for magic power
Yeah.
to then get those heals pumped in, whereas you would love to see a Morn or a Steel, but those were taken off the board, so unavailable, and it's Maguli. He's getting it done again, friend.
Oh my god, Toasty now in a bad spot. Does have some help coming. Double kill for Maguli, but that should be the last of his blood. Mercy, though, coming in to help things out. Looking towards Appy, trying to find the lockdown. Help is on its way. Peek over the wall with a double jump, but not looking for too much more. No kill potential. Instead, looking to pull their way back out because that Fang Tooth is up, and that's what they really want.
Yeah, so that's so tactful from Flow State. Only fight when there's something to fight for. Don't just be like, all right, let's just have fun out here and just arena battle it, right? There's an objective on the line. We need to win outright, and then we can take it. And they got a clean double kill. They were able to just burn through that Fang Tooth. They have 3 stacks now. The full Fang Tooth Monty, right? The Crossbones and
Uh-oh.
Skull. Appy getting eliminated here in the mid lane. I mean, Flow State just on a roll.
You said Crossbones and Skull. They put one more on the board. Flow State with that one now take the kill lead. And 3 Fang Teeth to 0. Looking very strong right now. Pay in mind, Mini Prime also still up on the board. And with the way Flow State's playing, it's an easy sweep from left to right to take down all those objectives. Mid lane tower falls up so much. And Maguli over here just pulls out an inner fire from Kira, just takes 2 steps back, says, you know what? That's no problem. Maybe Simba can come in and clean things up a little bit. Not quite enough damage. They're feeling just fine on that one.
I mean, that is why a lot of people have been building the like Typhoon on the mid laners.
Yeah.
So you can see just did the whirlwind right there because it gives you that little extra hop, skip, and a jump. Gets you that much closer than hit the seismic assault, and that's a tough bit of skill there from the side of Simba. Just barely not enough damage. But I love this rotation here from the side of Mythic, knowing that the mini prime is open. They sacrificed the tower, the tier 1. They know that lane was lost. Maguli just running it over there. Let's get something else on the map and see what we can do to kind of tip the scales in our favor. The mini prime will be able to do just that. It'll go onto Grady here.
Very wise play from Mythic. I'm honestly surprised Flow State did not decide to go for that one, opted for the gank on the left side instead. What's done is done, but does give Mythic a couple more tools here. Try to get some pressure back into some of these lanes, because right now they've lost every tier 1 tower they have. Their territory is beginning to shrink. And when you're down 3-4 objectives, that's not the place you want to be in. So what's the play here from Mythic? How do they utilize this mini prime now to try to buy some of this ground back?
That's a good question. They have to group. They have to move as a unit here. And just force the issue somewhere, whether it's in mid lane, whether it's off lane, group up together. But you saw, Spooky, how many deep wards they had in their own jungle because they're scared. They're even scared to group, but they're playing those defensive wards so they know that they can clear their jungle safely because that's how they feel they can get back in their game. But Mercy knows that, and he's not going to let him. He steals a couple of creeps right out from under Grady. Disastrous there. Another engagement popping out here in the mid.
Oh my. Beautiful glacial charge separating that one, making sure Grady can't pull up any further. He's just going to take a couple steps back here. Actually going forward with the Cryosize. I'm looking for the fight because Peek and Simba are right here behind him. BKB on the way in. All of Flow State looking to collapse. And it's going to be a slaughter here in the mid lane. Kira drops the inner fire but gets lazed down by Peek. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Make it 3-for-2. And suddenly Mythic turning the tides back in their favor. BKB drops. And now the last man standing looking to try to make his way back into territory. Double kill for Appy. And it's just a sliver of health left for BKB, and it's not going to last him long. Mythic with an ace.
And you love to see it. That's exactly what you need. A good team fight win. But look at this, folks. There's nothing on the board. No Fangtooth or Primes to take. But, like you mentioned, Spooky, Towers is the main objective for them now until they can get
Hmm.
that map control back. Maybe put a deeper ward in the enemy territory so they have the stronger vision. A great team fight. And I love it because it was a double engage, but it wasn't an effective stack here from the side of Flow State. It was a crowd size them. They waited a little bit.
Right.
Then the Soul Storm came on top, and it was too late to get everybody in. Then the counter engage came through with the Black Hole, allowed Cure to sneak around the back with the Inner Fire and just lay into everybody. He did so much damage in that fight. My goodness. You can see how close we are, folks. Only 2,000 gold difference between the squads.
As surprising, given that the objectives so heavily favor Flow State right now, you would have expected that fight to be a little bit smoother for them with that 8% damage increase, 8%
Mm-hmm.
resistances. But like you said, the staggered engagement, sometimes that's all it takes to have something go completely awry. And Mythic, with that fight now, have a little bit more ground in this mid lane. Simba, gonna be a little bit riskier if he wants to step up to these waves. Mythic has found themselves a win. How do they find this next one? Because there's a Primal Fangtooth coming up. You might have to hold that thought, though, Peak. Fishing for a stun, not going to find too much.
Yeah, and Flow State knows this. They know the next objective up is up, and they know Mythic has to win 2 fights back to back, which is tough, right? Especially when you know that the other team is gonna try to
Yeah.
run at you in a more coordinated style than what was happening in the mid lane. That I know Mercy sometimes he's a more pedal to the metal, where the other team's trying to rein him in a little bit. So he's always like, "We can win it, we can win it, we can win it," and so he jumps in with a crowd size him, and then it's a delayed reaction from the rest of his team because they're a little bit unsure of the win condition there. So definitely probably what happened in that previous engagement. But now that they're on the wavelength once more because the objective is up, I would most likely expect their coordination to be a little bit better. But we can see the vision. Look how
Mhm.
it's stacked over here around the Fang, Spooky.
Stacked in favor of Mythic. They know what this next play is. Flow State knows it just as well. BKB on that teleporter, going to be coming on over to help things out. Expect a clash here. And you touched on it yourself. Mercy is the guy who's going to be pedal to the metal in these fights.
Mm-hmm.
We do that a lot. And it really feels like Flow State is the team that is riding with him on that.
Yeah.
Throughout this series, we've seen them just follow up on those engagements he calls. And it goes a long way to have everyone on the same wavelength, especially when you're trying to be so aggressive. This team has just looked phenomenal. It's a matter of can they keep that up around this Fangtooth as Mythic are moving in.
My friend, I'm looking at all the check marks and they're all blinking blue. So everybody has got their ultimates online. And so we're seeing where Ure is on the map, just ushering the Countess away, right? If you're going to come at my team, you got to get through me first. And then because she's backing off, that gives BKB the opportunity to then put a little pressure on as that assassin burst character. So that was a great kind of, without fighting, just using your positional advantage to move the teams around. You can see how both these teams ebbing and flowing around the Fangtooth pit, not wanting to give up too much poke, but not position either. It's BKB going in. They don't use the Soulstorm yet just yet, but I expect they're about to.
Appy drops back down to the ground, and Mercy looking to lock him down. Countess finds the kill. Lobber takes down BKB and peaks super low in the back here. The numbers still move forward. Maguli is all the way in there, drops Toasty down. So 1 for 2. Mythic look to try to take this one back. Lobber's found himself a double kill, but keep your eyes on the right side. Even as this fight reigns, Mercy puts Grady down to the ground as Simba pushes up towards the inhibitor. Peak barely alive, not alive any longer, I'm sorry. But all this time, there's no Fangtooth, but the inhibitor's under duress.
My goodness, and I love that play from F8. They know they can give up this Fangtooth if it's their first Fangtooth for Mythic if they do secure it, which they don't even do. And they're like, all right, Simba, you got a great split push. You've got Noxia. You got Prophecy. Just clear the creeps. Push that inhibitor in. Unfortunately, he doesn't get it. Can he get this blue buff? Yes, he will. But I love that split decision from them to put pressure on the map and make Mythic kind of think about what they want to do. In that fight though, a little bit messy. BKB not able to get the full Soul Storm off. They were able to shut him down because their engagements weren't layered effectively, like we were talking about earlier. So then
Yeah.
he gets talked down, taken down, and then they kind of just have to figure out what to do after that, which sometimes I feel like is the best state for flow state, where they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants, just out mechanicking the other team. But still, Mythic, they win the fight, but don't get anything for it here, Spooky.
Win the fight, but driven back. And now, as we get ready to go back to this Fangtooth, it's important to note here the dynamics have shifted a little bit, Philly. Take a look back at those check marks. Ultimates are not on the board for this dueling for Mythic.
Mm.
Meanwhile, Flow State has every single one available for them. One blink down on the side of Appy. Flow State definitely have an advantage if they choose to push towards this primal. That said, looks like they're looking for a little bit of a slower roll here. Do you think that that's maybe missing the window of opportunity?
Mythic has to wait, friend. They have to wait for the black hole because that is their engage opportunity. How else are they going to engage, right? The Countess isn't just going to shadow slip in there using her only escape tool to try to assassinate
Run at
somebody.
them.
Right. So,
Uh-oh.
Grady, exactly, he's getting bullied away as well because if he wild rushes in, he's still out of touch. But here's the inner fire.
Oh, inner fire out of range, though, doesn't find too much. BKB does get dropped, but Mythic has lost Appy in the exchange. Now, Flow State looking to pull back little ways. Play this one slow and soft. Keep your eyes on Lobber, making his way over. Looking to probably try to find a flank here. It might be Lobber getting flanked instead as Maguli finds a way in. Simba shuts him down. And now Flow State looking to collapse on the rest of Mythic. Great stun comes through. Put in the cage and put down like dogs. Toasty no longer in the fight, and Mythic running for the hills. Mercy drives them back, and the rest of Flow State at his back. They found all they need to go back to the primal.
Oh my goodness. I feel for Lauber there because he did his job. He won the 1v1 on the outskirts, like we were talking about before, Spooky. That's what these assassins are going to do. They're going to 1v1 battle, and then whoever wins is going to be able to sneak their way in and assassinate the carry. Unfortunately, Lauber just didn't have enough in the tank. He didn't know how to maneuver from there. They spotted him in the river and said, that's what we got to go on. We know his resources are exhausted. They jump him quickly, but what's even better is a double stasis bomb from Peak to lock down the duo lane and an
Huge.
automatic seismic assault. There was nothing they could do. Oh my gosh, that is the layering that we want to see. Now they have the advantage. They get the fourth Fangtooth. They are killing it now. We're tied up though, 14 to 14 kills. It's still anybody's game.
That's the 2-for-1 special if I've ever seen one. We're 14 to 14 here at 26 and a half minutes. But now there's an Orb Prime on the board, and Flow State has that primal buff around 4 members. BKB unfortunately loses out on it. But like you mentioned, he's happy sitting on those outskirts waiting for an opportunity. He doesn't necessarily need to have it for these team fights. Flow State have a lot of momentum here. I don't know if Mythic has an easy way into this Orb Prime. Is this a situation where you just bunker down on your lanes and defend those? Or do you think this is still close enough, even with the Fangtooth differential, to contest this Orb Prime?
This is a really tough decision because you feel like if you go all in and you lose everybody, it could be the game. You can kind of just run it in the off lane, knowing that there's no tier 2 to kind of bide your time. But my friend, we might not have time to talk about it because Mercy is going in, trying to lock somebody down, the Cosmic Rift as well. They've done enough to poke him out here, but I feel like the battle might just still be going. I don't know, man. It looks like the Mythic they'll back off for now.
It's a little tough. Keep this one going, I think. Mercy is pretty low on the health bar, only about half health. He instead decides to take a reset. The rest of Flow State is still healthy here, and Mythic choose to take their own reset. They have this Zinx here to provide that healing. Maybe taking the steps back gives too much room over to Flow State. They don't even wait for Mercy to get back before they start this one up. Lobber looking across the corridor. Appy in the back as well, but zoned off by Peak. Not a good way for Mythic to get into this fight, and that Orb Prime getting lower and lower. They're gonna have to try to find a fight on the back end. Grady comes through, but it's into the Soul Storm. Appy tries to open the black hole immediately, goes into stasis and shot down from the skies, put back into the cosmos as Flow State rip through Mythic, kill 4 members, and only Lobber survives to try to defend this base.
Oh man. We said it was close, my friend, but after that fight, I don't know. If P can even win this, he does get in the air. The Ion Strike! Oh, the outplay from the support. The captain gets the ace for the team.
And that is all the room Flow State need to lock this one down. With the last member falling, the inhibitor will follow suit. Flow State march forward into the core, break it down, and they take game number 1 in this best of 3.
Oh, and you know what? Mythic, it's just they didn't have a way to engage that wasn't so scripted. Everybody knows if you're
Yeah.
picking the Gideon, that's your guy, but usually you want to try to pair him with some other folks. Do you have a Coliseum? Do you have a Cryoseism, right? Do you have somebody
Mhm.
else that can help follow it up? There's nobody. The Terra for me is too lacking. Her ultimate is not impactful, right? She wasn't able to peel because she was like, well, I have to dive in with the Gideon and follow him up. So she's using all of her abilities more offensively than defensively. And if they're not a distraction enough, well, you really know who the damage dealer is. It's Cure on the Sparrow. They were able to spot him out
Yeah.
easily. But the big thing here is the Soulstorm beats Black Hole. In rock, paper, scissors, Soulstorm beats Black Hole. They saw it go in with the Black Hole,
Yeah.
used the Soulstorm. They were able to suck everybody in and take them down, right? Because they know they're going to try to follow up on that Black Hole. So it was just a tough engagement opportunity there for the side of Mythic to find their way into some of those fights. And Flow State did a great job on capitalizing on the strategy of the other team.
I still remember when you showed me yourself how difficult that Terra jungle is to execute. This time around, Mythic not quite able to find the success. We'll see if they can bring it back for game number 2 after the break.